Hello ladies and gentlemen, so I just finished up a playthrough of Don't Starve Together, but not just a normal playthrough of Don't Starve, no. I tried to make my Don't Starve world the most insufferable thing on the history of this earth, where basically if something made the game harder, like Merms or Clockworks, then I'd set it to more, if it doesn't make a difference, then I'd set it to the normal amount, and if it was actually useful, as in berries or something, then I'd set it to less. Well, I did that initially, but then I found that an option for setting it to little exists, so I then did that because little means less than less. I explained that in a totally not confusing way at all, I'm absolutely sure. Also, in case you were curious on watching me input my settings, just in case I messed something up while putting them in, which I almost certainly did, I'll be uploading my raw footage onto another channel. I'll put the link in the description to it. Bear in mind though that some of the footage on that is glitched. I'm not sure why, but Twitch is really janky when it comes to that sort of thing. Also, if you're wondering why I didn't put it onto lots rather than just more, well, that's because I'm on console, and apparently that means I can't have lots of hand waves. Oh, also, if you want to dislike, please like the pinned comment, because I want the dislike count to be public. And without further ado, let's get into it. Actually, there is a little bit more of ado, because this footage was all recorded in around about late July to early August, so as a result, some things may be out of date. For example, I'm pretty sure they changed the fact that you can't have lots of things on console now, but it was a thing back then. So just, keep that in mind while you're watching. Some things may be out of date, so yeah. Now, in this world, pretty much all the characters are equal. I wouldn't choose WX78 though, because having more Clockworks would actually be an advantage with him, rather than a disadvantage, and I don't want to mitigate the challenge in that sense. And I wanted this to actually be a challenge. So, I plucked up the courage and chose the most OP anime arc waifu character there is in Wes. With his 75 health, 75 hunger, 75 sanity, much weaker attacks, and he is much weaker at manual labour, he will prove to be truly overpowered. First off, when they said little, they meant little. Like a quarter of the way through the day, despite picking every single thing I could find, I had 3 twigs and 1 tuft of grass. Although we did manage to find a graveyard super early on, so we got some gold, which is one of the best things that could have possibly happened to me. Although after this we did find a few more resources, which is very, very lucky, because if I would have died on the first night due to not being able to find the materials for a torch, I think I would have cried. Although it is really, really weird to see all of these normally super dense forests have so few trees in them. Brazil moment. Almost like an uncanny valley type situation. Although we may have an unlikely saviour in this challenge. Tumbleweeds. Because if you can catch up to them and pick them, you will get 3 random things, usually just twigs and grass though, but we actually really need grass and twigs, so they're really efficient for our purposes. I also found a lucky spade from a skeleton, so I decided to honour the great leader Slasher342, and decided to waffle stomp a few moleworm burrows, and then slaughter the buggers as they tried to escape. Although one of them actually did escape. I'm so sorry, sir. At the start of day 2, with our ready-made pickaxe, we descended upon the mosaic biome like a pack of locusts, nabbing all the rocks we possibly could. And I just want to take the time now to say that chopping trees as Wes is absolutely painful. To chop a big tree as a normal character takes 15 chops with an axe, but Wes's soy boy muscles take 20 whole chops. And people like to say that it's okay because you can chop slightly more logs per axe. But I completely disagree, because in this game, time is your main resource, so it's a lot more than just a simple annoyance if gathering logs takes ages, because your hunger bar will drain so much more. But hey, on day 2 we got ourselves a science machine, which allowed us to pre-craft an alchemy engine for later use, as well as a backpack, and I realised that in earlier playthroughs I kind of took early game food security for granted here. As in the early game, it's so easy to find carrots and berries and things. But here, at the end of the day 2, we had barely any food, save for a few seeds and a raw mole carcass. But even the threat of starvation would not force me to back down from my quest of militant map exploration, and after gathering a few more resources, I ran back down to the science machine and prototyped a spade. Why? Well, because this world's resources are few and far between, so if we can make them few and close together, gathering them will be a whole lot easier. After running around for a while, digging up all the saplings and berry bushes I could get my grubby little paws on, we found the rock biome. And also the reason why I'm not digging up grass is, to be frank, I can't be bothered fertilising it all. That said though, if you're playing at home, I would 100% advise that you actually do dig up the grass. It would have saved me so much time in this playthrough. Okay then? I won't lie, I kind of assumed more clockworks would mean they put the clockwork set pieces in more places, where, it'd make more sense, rather than just sort of plonking them everywhere like a mentally deranged child in a sandpit. But whatever, don't let me tell you how to do your job, I guess, Clay. I tried so damn hard to find some food so that we could save them. But I had to eat the seeds, guys. I'm really sorry. This hurts my soul just as much as it hurts yours. While running away from some spiders, we found the Oasis Desert. On just day 4, it's time to begin our aggressive destruction of nature. Also, while we're building the base, I just want to outline the challenge goals. And they aren't really challenge goals, just one challenge goal. Survive past day 22, as that'll be a new personal best from the last challenge. To stick it to that bloody Mac Tusk. And if we do happen to make it past day 22, I'll just keep on going until I die. Sound good to everyone? Okay, good. I then decided to just keep on trucking because you kind of need to do that when your world's resources are in such immense scarcity. So we then found the swamp. Oh, it's not great. For those of you who watched the last Don't Starve video may remember that me and the swamp have, shall we call it, a turbulent history. So I then decided to take out some revenge and slaughter some spiders for no good reason, and accidentally walked on some weird merm tentacle war, and I guess there is a god, because the tentacles absolutely should have hit me, I won't lie, but I managed to get away scot-free. And hey, if this is your sorry message to me, Don't Starve, I totally accept. Now can I visit the kids, please? Although I might have underestimated the difficulty of this challenge just a tad, because I ran so low on food that I had to resort to eating monster meat. Like, unless I'm playing Weber, I genuinely can't remember the last time in this game I ate monster meat. And there are so few pigs in this world that if we see one, then we kind of need to kill them for the sake of armour. Because yes, log suits do exist, but you can't wear a backpack with them equipped. So pigskin helmets will be so much better. Beefalo! Okay, thank God, this world might actually be somewhat survivable now. And to further prove this, by the end of day 6, we had approximately a stack of all the important resources. Lots of sampling plants, although the berry bush side is somewhat lacking. And while I wouldn't call the amount of food we have a food surplus, we had enough for at least a little while. We're back home now, and it's about time that we get to planting, and I just want to say I'm so sorry, but trying to get an even somewhat nice looking farm on console is nearly impossible, because it's hard to get it in the right spot. I do really wish that the devs would add the geometric placement mod, which is on PC, into the game as standard, or at least an option, because this is so incredibly frustrating to have your sapling plants be ever so slightly off kilter. But anyway, we burnt some trees, went for a bathroom break, came back from said bathroom break, finished my garden, got a lovely cardigan, made a crock pot, made some drying racks, made a farm, but then, oh dear God. For those of you who haven't played this game, that is the sound of hounds. And we need to prepare for them. Or at least, I would say that, if we didn't already have a log suit and a spear, which is more than enough for this stage of the game. So we just waffle stomped the hound and we were fine. Although it is a bit weird how I put hounds on more, or at least I think I did, and only one of them actually showed up. But after we killed this hound, one of the most frustrating things happened in the game, where it wouldn't let me put the garden down in this one spot. I tried destroying all the bones, all the spiky bushes around it, just to see if that's what made the placement go all janky. Although they didn't look close enough to actually cause any real issue, I still tried it anyway. And you know what? It still didn't work. So I had to commit a symmetry sin and make my farm look like this. And yes, it did annoy me for the whole entire playthrough. So I'm showing you all this now, so you can suffer just a small amount of how much I had to suffer. I then decided to try and use some of this world's disadvantages to my advantage, because I saw this one rook who was suspiciously close to a spider nest. So I tried to lead the rook close to the nest so that he wouldn't ram into the nest, and it started okay, but then... Feeling super suicidal. Jeepers, that's gastronomical! We found a hunt! They can give you so much food. And for those of you who don't know why meat is so completely busted in this game, 1. Meatballs, 2. Meaty stew, and 3. You could dry meat to make jerky, which is absolutely busted in terms of health and sanity healing. Now, I was half expecting a situation like last time where we just couldn't corner the bloody thing and we'd have to let it go. But I found that we were actually really close to a dead end in the world, so I boxed him in and the fight began. Now, to kill a koalaphant, you want to hit him 5 times, then run away, and bait out his attack, and then attack him 5 more times. Repeat until he falls asleep, quote unquote. I mean, some people can do 6 times, but personally I'm nowhere near good enough for that, so, 5 gets the job done. I then went spelunking for a while, because if the resources in this world are as limited as they indeed are, continually making torches doesn't really make any sort of sense now, does it? So a lantern would be a much better investment. And it lets you actually do things at night, because you can just drop it on the ground and then keep working with the light it gives off. Although gathering 10 light bulbs took the same time as it would normally take to get around about 40, I swear. Also, fridges, bitches! How come I'm doing better in this world than I was when there were 2 people and the world wasn't engineered to be as painful as an Iron Maiden? There was then a full moon, which I absolutely squandered. I didn't even kill any werepigs or anything like that. I just sort of forgot that full moons in the game exist, to be quite honest. But then, in the literal morning after the full moon ended, I found the Pig King biome and Glommer, both of which would have been immensely useful during the full moon, as we could have gotten Glommer, who gives you his lovely healing goop, and werepigs, who you can kill for lots more meat and lots more pigskin. Die, catcoons! Yeah, look, okay, I know this makes you a pretty bad person, but hey, it's a catcoon. And, it's a catcoon eat catcoon world out here. Now, it was time for the ultimate world destroyer, Wes, to descend upon the pig village, leaving it a husk of its former self, leaving no pigs unbaconed. Now, granted, there were only 2 pigs, but hey, it still counts, okay? In the light of day, I saw 2 more pigs, and so I decided to take a note out of the Doomslayer's book and rip and tear until it is done. As I tried to kill 1 pig, another flanked me from behind, but Wes, the immortal deity, effortlessly dodged, the spear becoming an extension of his body as raw masculinity flowed through his bones. 3 swine down, only Smelly to go. Smelly gets a hit off from Wes, and another hit from Smelly connects with Wes's jaw, but this didn't matter, as Wes's power level only increased from this. and Smelly hits the ground with a colossal thud, proving Wes's femboy energy once and for all. I then found the Terraria chest, which contains the terrarium, an item for summoning both the twins and the Eye of Cthulhu. Sorry, the Twins of Terror and the Eye of Terror. Dear God, they didn't try too hard on the names, did they? Now, I actually got a comment on my last video saying that I should try to kill this thing because it has good loot. So you know what? I will try to do it, but I'm not going to do it the way the comment suggested. I have my own special idea brewing, which I think may just work. I then explored for a really long time, and honestly didn't find all too much for a while, until, oh my God, is that a grass biome? Believe it or not, grass is by far one of the most important resources in this game. Specifically for drying racks, which as mentioned prior are completely busted due to jerky production. So we pretty much need to run around and collect as much of it as we can get our grubby little mitts on. Oh my God, is that seriously the best winter insulation hat in the entire game, even beating out the winter hat? And we just got it 100% for free. Although sometimes the things skeletons give you can have limited durability, so let's have a look. 100%? This feels like a dream tier luck. But I can assure you, I don't have any mods I forgot to uninstall, because I'm on console. Now, I then saw a rook. And then I saw a bunch of beehives. Killer beehives, no less. I think you can see where I'm going with this. So I initially tried to lure the rook to ram into the beehives. That worked and he rammed into one. And the hit connected, which you can tell by the beehive shaking when it got hit. But then the bees in the other hive just don't seem to care all that much about this massive thing and would rather just attack the innocent little femboy minding his own damn business. So I then tried to lead the bees to the rook. And as they're killer bees who get aggroed really easily onto things, my hope was that once they lost aggro on me, they'd just go straight for the rook. And this did actually work, as most of the bees decided to go and swarm the rook. Although, to be quite honest, I mostly did this to kill the bees, not the rook, because all the rook drops is gears, and I already have enough fridges, and I mostly wanted the beeswax from the killer bees to make friendly beehives who'd make honey for me. So I just decided to cut my losses and leave at that point. I also found a second pig village, although this one was surrounded by spiders, had barely any pigs in it, and had barely any other resources in it. So I just kind of walked on by, which feels a bit weird because usually when I see a pig village I at least want to gather some stuff there, but I don't know, nothing there really sprang out to me. The situation was not going the best for us. A bit better, yes, but we were running out of time and my meat was going stale. So I decided to go on a hunt, because if you put some fresh meat in a stack with stale meat, the stack becomes less stale. Or at least that's the easy way of explaining it. So I trotted along the hunt, fantasizing about all the meat that the koala would give me. But then, my dear viewers,
you were the clock that was ticking in my heart. Change my state of mind. When love's so hard to find. Your feelings changed like the weather. Went from pretty.
Varg decided that today was the day that it was going to show up and ruin my life. Now these things are no joke, they have loads of health, hit as hard as a truck, and constantly summon in hounds while they're aggroed onto you. The only good thing is that it's somewhat slow, so the possibility to outrun it is there, unlike with normal hounds. As the hounds it tries to spawn stay closer to the Varg, so you can just run away from the Varg and the hounds will kind of stay close to that. But as it was so close to my base, running away from it wasn't really an option. One of us had to die. My initial idea was to lead it to the clockworks close to my base, and they were honestly pretty great, but the bishop kept on getting stun-locked and the rook tended to just kill one of the hounds, not actually aim for the Varg. But then he'd come back, and then just kill another hound. And honestly, having to dodge the rook was just too stressful on top of everything else. So we had to find another solution. So I ran to the spiders. They killed a few of the hounds, but they weren't all too effective either. So I then led the Varg further down, And oh dear lord, this was like a Roman Colosseum. Clockworks on hounds, hounds on spiders, clockworks on spiders. It was complete madness, which gave me some time alone with the Varg. Although for some reason the Varg decided to attack this random rook who had done nothing to him. So of course the rook responded accordingly and waffle stomped him 6 feet under. Even despite the immense danger we were in there, we came out of it completely fine, well, mostly. Most of the damage I took was from this one bishop because I was being completely stupid, so he got 3 shots on me. And with all of the hound's teeth we collected, we can make teeth traps, which are effectively the antidote to large hound waves, as with enough of them even the strongest of wolves can look like a little bitch. Again, YouTube, I was talking about dogs. It's fine, it's a technical term. And I would 100% recommend that you do this, start in the late game, build positive habits, they'll maintain into late game, because I totally didn't lose a day 100 world to hounds because I didn't build enough teeth traps. But for now, it's time for Drangwreck expansion, the likes of which you've never seen before. And for some reason, the game decides to unload all the rain on me now, right at the end of autumn, where the temperature is lower than it is for the rest of autumn. I had to burn so much stuff to prevent myself from freezing in the middle of the day in autumn. Oh, please, I don't want what happened last time to happen again. Please! So I had to craft a thermal stone, just so that I could leave my base for longer than 5 seconds. We could maybe even reach 10 seconds if we were lucky. It isn't even this bad in winter, for God's sake, and I was burning through all my jerky, which I was supposed to save for winter, because we were losing health that quickly. Now, I'm unsure as to why my brain works this way, but when I had barely any health, winter was right around the corner, and I didn't have that much food at all. I decided to explore the Dragonfly Desert. The desert with one of the strongest bosses in the game just hanging out inside of it. Now, thankfully, not much happened here, but as evening drew around, I had a delightfully mischievous idea. What if I tried that Eye of Terror killing method I'd been cooking up in my brain? Now. So I strolled up to Dragonfly, used the pan flute to put her to sleep, and then I dropped the terrarium next to her so that the Eye of Terror could spawn in next to her. There's no way they'd let me get away with this, right? Surely not. And I waited until... Oh. So the Eye of Terror doesn't spawn directly on the terrarium, she spawns on you. So that sucked. So I ran away until the Eye of Terror de-aggroed, and holy hell, my plan actually seemed to be working. But whenever I tried to get close enough to them to spectate the action, they just chased me away. So in conclusion, I reckon this probably could work if it took place in winter when the nights are longer, and if I had more pan flute so that I could just keep going back each night and, doing the whole setup again. Or I could have put the terrarium maybe slightly outside of his aggro range, and then I could just lead the eye to Dragonfly. So overall, 6 out of 10, I'd say. The last day of autumn was actually spent in the caves because light bulbs are a really great light source, especially in the winter when your grass and twigs become a lot more valuable as fire fuel, and also because they don't seem to regrow in winter. I don't know if that's true or not, but just my observation. So you need to save them. But also you don't really want to spend time in the caves in winter if you can help it, because it gets a lot colder because, winter. Although I couldn't actually find any excess light bulbs, all I could do was refill my lantern. But hey, that's better than nothing, I suppose. I am a bloody idiot. Watching all this footage back, I am such a dumbass. Why am I trying the Dragonfly cheese again when I have such little health and it's the very last autumn night when I could be doing anything that's a lot more productive? And then I started freezing to death, so I had to put a fire down right next to Dragonfly to just prevent dying. But though, things were looking better this time. The two seemed to be ignoring me for a while. Oh, no, never mind. He nearly killed me 5 seconds after. But hey, after this, the winter kicks off. Oh, God no, God no, God no. It's happening again. The hound descending upon me when I'm freezing. Oh, God, is this the end? I needed to call on my good old clockwork buddies one more time. And I tried to get the dogs to attack them, and this worked semi-well, but unbeknownst to me there were some extra clockworks next to them who took care of the hounds. And after this PTSD-inducing experience, I made some teeth traps as a precaution. Because I still hadn't got round to making the teeth traps. So I got my revenge on the hounds that killed me last time or contributed to my demise. And now it was time to wipe the floor with a Mac Tusk. So I ran up, demolished his hounds, and then I started to chase him. Now, for those of you who don't know much about this game, Mac Tusks are a bit weird because if you chase them for long enough, they'll just start walking back to their home like there isn't an aggressive femboy chasing them, with no cares in the world. But we got both of the Mac Tusk rewards from a single Mac Tusk. After this I did a hunt, and in winter the koalefants are blue and drop winter koalefant trunks. There you go, I've explained the difference between winter koalefants and normal koalefants in about 5 seconds, compared to Beard 777's 8 sodding minutes. I then went to go and explore the caves in the middle of winter. Why, you may ask? Honestly, even while I was doing it, like in the game, I was thinking, there is literally no point to this, I am going to die. So I think I just had a brief bout of insanity. Tree guard! Oh my god. I think my brain has just tripled in size. Oh dear. Oh, double dear. Why am I such a bloody idiot? I didn't even need anything at all he dropped. In fact, the monster meat would be infinitely more useful to me than the living logs. And we probably should have just kept him around anyway as a hound distraction. But we couldn't have that, could we? Because I have an IQ of approximately the square root of 7. So I then very nearly died, but I was just about able to secure some jerky which stabilised my stats for a bit, and then I ran away and waited until morning, where we could plan our next move. So I then decided to do the exact same thing as before. I know, I pride myself on creativity too, but hey, it seems to be working. Oh, I swear to God, Rook's on my 13th reason! Thank God. I must say though, regarding what to do with these living logs, I'm quite stumped. Jesus Christ, I am getting old, aren't I? You're in the middle of one of the hardest seasons to survive in Don't Starve. Your food situation isn't looking all that great. You haven't had a bath in an ungodly amount of time. How do we fix this rapidly worsening situation? I hear you all cry. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you boat science. I then went to a typical grasslands biome to replenish my grass supplies, which I used on, you guessed it, boat stuff. But then, oh no, it's Father Christmas. Now, as terrifying as this whole situation is, it's actually better for him to show up than for him to not to show up. Because we pretty much need his eyeball to make the eyebrow for spring. Because in spring, the map basically turns into Britain and it rains every 5 seconds. But the eyebrow gives you 100% wetness resistance. So it's pretty much necessary. Unless you want to suffer for 20 full days. So let's get into the combat here, shall we? First off, the B team got demolished in 5 seconds. Then the professional hunting party wasn't all too professional, so at this point, seeing the immense power of my foe, I started to play in the grass fields a bit to just steady my nerves. But then it was time for action. Step 1. Lead deer clops to the clockworks. Step 2. Regret. At this point, I was half dead, blinding bolts of lightning were filling me with dread, and I was losing all but my head. But then, this one lone clockwork knight saved my... Oh. No, he didn't. But, while I was off screen, the other knight hit deer clops, and then the clockworks all ganged up on it. Surely, all of them together would be able to kill this vagabond. Or you can just unlock them. That's cool too. Whatever. Okay then, new idea. The the forest, because tree guards do insane single target damage, hence why I was so afraid of that tree guard earlier. So we just need to make him stomp on some trees, and oh dear lord, that was fast. Now, all we have to do is just sit back and wait for Deerclops to die. I mean, after all, he should have lost quite a bit of his health due to the clockworks, so it should be an open and shut. Okay, this joke is starting to get a bit bloody old now, Clay. But hey, I then did the exact same thing again and we got ourselves another tree guard. And then the bloody hounds showed up. But it was alright in the end, I suppose. The tree guard eventually made Deerclops keel over. But then, in the 5 seconds it took to change from night to day and for me to get out my spear, this stupid pooch ate the eyeball. The one thing that we needed from all this. After wasting tons and tons of my time, I went to go and get Glommer from the birch biome, because it was just a small bit of success that I needed to avoid going completely bonkers. Lots of resource grinding, another tree guard, and 3 days later we finally had fully kitted out our boat, because I wanted to be able to find the lunar island in spring, because, come on, we needed something to do. On the evening of day 35, right at the end of winter, we set sail in search of new lands. Because, come on, I'm British. It's in my damn genes to colonise random islands in the middle of nowhere. Safe to say this wasn't exactly smooth sailing, please XD, because we found Pearl's bottle, which showed us where her island was. This is where the positives end, as I hit the edge of the sea in about 5 seconds, so we had to sail all the way around the bottom of the mainland. Then I sailed to what I thought was the lunar island, but turns out it was just the rock biome. But still, we pressed onwards. Next is the most hated place for all of the 1% of Don't Starve players who can actually be bothered to use boats. The salt biome. And I had accidentally just steered into it, so I had to quickly rush the biscuit shankers, and then quickly hightail it out of there. Freezing? Freezing! Now too. Seriously, oh my god. At this point I was running out of resources so badly that it was very much a sink or swim scenario, and the insanity monsters are a bit different on boats, but they still decided to show up despite the fact that I was completely sane. And then, because it was nighttime, I couldn't see another salt biome. So I slammed into one of the crystals and, not now, please! Oh dear lord, I genuinely don't think my heart can take this many near misses in one playthrough. Alright, we just need to steer us slow and steady and we should have no issue. Alright, we just about missed the first one and now we'll just... Well, okay, let's all stay calm. Maybe he didn't... Well, that was a very anticlimactic ending. Thanks for watching, I suppose. I hope you had fun, because I sure didn't, suffering through this. Oh, and also, as a ghost, I saw none other than Crab King, who's infinitely harder to locate than the Lunar Island. So that's fun, isn't it? And also, I'd argue that we did quite well here. I mean, surviving on a world past winter, which I specifically engineered to be as difficult as possible, deserves at least some merit. Hopefully. But yeah, have a good day everyone.